Welcome to Narrative Nook Audio Tales, where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
After some time, they sent another text message over to Nora, saying, "Someone is helping Nicole. We've all gotten punished for what we did yesterday. Let's stop contacting each other from today onwards." Nora clenched her phone tightly in her hand as her veins popped out of her slender fingers, which looked exceptionally ugly. These three idiots could not even finish such a simple task. It is too bad I gave them so much information about Samuel. After fretting for some time, Nora was still thinking of ways to take care of Nicole when Celia's profile picture popped out from her phone screen. Nora's eyes sparkled as she immediately told Celia Nicole's whereabouts. After 2 hours, Nicole walked out of the library after she was done studying. The sun was setting, and it was close to dinner time. Nicole decided to have dinner before going back to study again. But when she reached the entrance to the cafe, she bumped into someone unexpectedly. She looked up and realized that it was a very familiar face. She smiled, intrigued. Celia glared at Nicole angrily as she stood before her. Behind her was a group of muscular men. With only one glance, Nicole could tell that they were well trained. Even Kane had lost to Nicole and was still staying in the hospital. Celia had been taking care of him for so many days, but he did not seem to recover still, which had made Celia heartbroken and angry. But she could kind of sense that Nicole was no angel, so normal thugs might not be able to handle Nicole. For this reason, Celia spent a large sum of money to hire these professional thugs to teach Nicole a lesson. This could help both her and Kane to let off steam and let Nicole know that she, Celia Rowe, was not someone Nicole could mess with. When she saw Nicole coming out, Celia waved to the men behind her. "This is the girl. She knows a few martial arts, so you don't have to go easy on her. Go teach her a lesson." The men behind her listened to their boss order, so it was only unreasonable for them to not follow through. They warmed themselves up before they surrounded Nicole. Nicole's expression remained the same when she looked at them rubbing their fists and palms. She immediately knew that they were professionals in this field of work, so they must know some martial arts. Nicole looked at Celia with what seemed like a smile. Celia grew smarter this time as she knew how to get better fighters to mess with Nicole. Nicole was about to put down her bag in her hand, but she suddenly heard a lazy voice saying, "What are you doing? What party is this?" Turns out, Jared was going to get his car after leaving the principal's office. He just passed by and saw a group of big men surrounding a girl. He only noticed that the girl was Nicole after he got closer. Those men sure have the guts to hit someone in broad daylight. The darkness grew in Jared's usual expressionless eyes as he walked closer to them. Though he had a lazy stance, he was emitting a strong presence, forcing the thugs to retreat instinctively, making way for him. When Nicole saw that it was Jared, she was surprised for a while, but she immediately put on her indifferent expression again. Jared walked to Nicole and asked, "Are you all right?" Nicole paused and looked at him. Without words, she was telling him that obviously, those men had not even touched her clothes. Jared understood her look and smiled unconsciously. Everyone in San Giotto longed for his attention, but Nicole did not even bother to give him a response. On the other hand, Celia saw what happened and stared at Jared, gaping. Since the Rowe family was one of the powerful families in San Giotto, she had met plenty of bigwigs with her parents. So, she immediately knew that the man before her was the notable helmsman of the Johnston family. Additionally, he was also the unofficial heir to the top consortium in San Giotto, the Johnston Group. She had only seen him once during a charity banquet. Other than being awestruck by his charming appearance, she was also stunned by the way the people treated him. Her parents could only smile in the company of the managers of the Finley Group and the Ellison Group, who were both extremely courteous and hospitable toward Jared. Celia's parents were not even in the place to greet Jared, so they could only stare at him from afar. Just like a peasant, she was asking her parents who Jared was. She would never forget the look in her father's eyes at that moment. They were filled with fear and aspiration as her father said, "He is someone we can never mess with." But now Jared, who was cold toward all of the women in the banquet, was concerned about Nicole. Not only did he not mind Nicole ignoring him, but he even smiled at Nicole. Didn't the school forum say that Nicole had no background? If so, what is going on right now? If Nicole has any connections with Jared, Celia did not even dare to think any further as she cursed silently. Those online experts made a fool out of me. She immediately ordered the men to go back to her as she asked loudly, "Why are you people surrounding Nicole?" She was busy throwing glances at them while she spoke. However, those men were not the sharpest tools in the shed, so they completely did not catch her signals. "Miss, didn't you hire us to beat her up? We're just doing what we are paid for, so why are you questioning us?" Celia was so pissed to the point that she felt a little lightheaded. All she could do was hope that Jared did not hear what they had said. Celia turned around awkwardly and looked at Jared with a worried look as she said carefully, "And Mr. Johnston, what brings you here?" Jared did not spare her a glance as he was still staring at Nicole. "Nicole, what's going on?" Nicole looked at Celia's panicked expression and could not help but study Jared again. "Nothing much. She can't do much to me." Jared saw that she did not want to let him know, so he did not bother asking further. Then, he finally lowered his standards to glance at Celia. "Since she doesn't want to tell me, you can. Speak only the truths." Celia was going numb just by being stared down by Jared. A chill ran down her spine as she thought about the things she had done to Nicole. How could she even tell the truth? Celia worked up the nerve to look at Nicole. When she saw Nicole looking indifferent toward her, she thought of how Nicole did not mention that she had bullied her. So, Celia mustered her courage and said, "Nothing much. There's just a little misunderstanding between Nicole and me." Before she could finish, Jared scoffed coldly, "Just a little misunderstanding, and you've hired so many thugs to barricade her?" Jared thought, "Do I look that gullible?" Celia was immediately startled when Jared said that. Unable to speak, Nicole could not stand Celia's cowardly look and told Jared flatly, "Let's go." Even without Jared, Nicole could not be harmed by Celia, not even if there were 10 of them. It was just that Nicole did not want to waste her energy on Celia. Jared heard Nicole and shot Celia a glance with a half-smile. "Don't let me see you ever again." After all, Nicole was still his fiancée. No one should touch her without his permission. After that, Nicole and Jared left, one behind the other. From far, their leisure footsteps seemed in line with each other. Celia was left frozen on the spot as if Jared's last glance had bewitched her to stay at the same spot. She did not move an inch for a period of time. Celia's eyes were filled with extreme fear as Jared's words had pulled her to hell. She knew that Jared was definitely not joking. Though Nicole knew that Jared was the heir of the Johnston family, she did not know how powerful Jared really was. However, when she saw Celia's expression just now, she could tell that Jared surely had a high status. "I wonder what brings someone as prestigious as him to Royal Creek Institute." While she was pondering, she asked Jared suspiciously, "Why are you at Royal Creek Institute?" "Me? I'm obviously here to reminisce with Mr. Ellison." Nicole fell silent. Speaking of Mr. Ellison, Nicole suddenly felt guilty as she thought, "This Jared wouldn't have asked questions that are not meant to be asked, right? Did Mr. Ellison give you a call today?" Jared asked curiously as he thought about Mr. Ellison's phone call when he walked into his office. "Yeah." Nicole nodded instinctively, but she quickly frowned. "What does Mr. Ellison calling me has got to do with you?" Jared laughed. "I'm just curious. Mr. Ellison seemed to treat you better than his own grandchild." Nicole rolled her eyes at him. "It's none of your business." Jared's eyes darkened as he watched her walking forward. Who on earth is Nicole? She had tasted the coffee beans from his private estate, and Mr. Ellison had a special affinity with her. But after so many days, Jared still could not find out Nicole's true information. He found it incredibly odd. When he saw Nicole almost entering the cafeteria, he immediately blinked at Nicole. "Do you want to head on over to my cafe? There's Western food now, and everything is free if you visit the shop." Nicole stopped instantly as she was very fond of the coffee from his cafe. If she could order some Western food, it would be even better. Sure, but it doesn't have to be free. It did not cost much to her, so she could still afford it. Oh. Jared could not help but arch his brows. His cafe only had high spenders. Even some wealthy kids were reluctant to pay. But Nicole did not even bat an eye. For whatever reason, Jared felt that Nicole was filthy rich. The both of them arrived at the cafe in a short time. Max was not around, so the cashier saw them. He was stunned for a while before he went up to welcome them warmly. "Mr. Johnston, Miss Riddle." Nicole nodded and was about to go make an order when Jared suddenly extended his arm to stop her. When he saw Nicole looking at him with confusion, he smiled provokingly. "Do you want to see what I can do?" Nicole looked at him and nodded nonchalantly before she turned and walked toward her usual seat to sit down. The cashier gaped bewilderedly as he looked at Jared. Jared was a top international barista. The presidents of other countries paid him a handsome amount of money for him to make them coffee, but he had rejected them mercilessly. Now, Jared was personally making coffee for a mere student. The way the cashier looked at Nicole instantly became full of admiration as he finally understood how important Miss Riddle was to Jared. Nicole was oblivious to these as she pulled out 2 high-level math Olympiad practice questions from her bag. Though she was spinning her pencil in her hand, she did not write anything down. All Nicole did was look at the questions. She then flipped to the next page after some time. This was her unique way of studying. She would do the calculations in her head after she looked at the question. Not only did this approach save time, but it also saved her the energy from writing down the formulas. If her schoolmates saw the way she looked now, they would probably start looking down on her again. They might think that she was pretending since she was not writing anything down, nor did she do any calculations. They would doubt whether she was actually studying and deem her pretense ridiculous. When Jared walked out with 2 cups of coffee, he saw Nicole resting her oval chin on her palm as she looked at the practice questions with expressionless eyes. She had a set of faint navy blue eyes, and her slightly pursed lips were bright red. Her sleeves rolled down her arm, and she had a red string as her bracelet around her fair, slim wrist, which further accentuated her porcelain white skin. Her other hand was busy fidgeting with her pen as she performed pen-spinning tricks from time to time. Though she had a flat expression on her face, Jared could somehow tell that she was happy. It was like she could get comfort when she studied at the cafe. Jared smiled lightly when he saw this as he walked toward her and placed the cup of coffee on her table. "What are you looking at? You look so serious." Nicole did not even look at him when she answered him flatly, "Math Olympiad questions." After she spoke, she picked up the coffee in front of her and took a sip. Jared did not seem to expect that answer, so he could not help but chuckle nonchalantly. "I didn't think you would sit here and do Math Olympiad questions." "How surprising." Nicole glared at him. "There's plenty more things for you to be surprised about." She put back the coffee at the table, and Jared spoke after some time. "This is a new product that was personally made by me. It isn't too much for me to ask for your opinion on this, right?" Nicole's eyes stayed at the practice question as she responded half-heartedly, "This is the best coffee I've had. Give me a minute. Then." Nicole just blatantly ignored him and started doing her Math Olympiad questions seriously. 5 minutes had passed in the blink of an eye, and the look on Jared's face got worse. When she came to the cafe last time, she had also ignored him. Now, she was actually ignoring him for some math questions? This was a feeling that Jared was experiencing for the first time in his life. At that moment, the food he ordered for Nicole was served, and that was when Nicole finally put down her book as she got ready to eat. Then she noticed Jared was not looking too good. "What's up with you?" Nicole wondered why Jared, who looked fine back then, became so upset now. "I'm still waiting for your opinion," said Jared. In his mind he muttered, "I don't mind that you ignored me, but did you actually forget what I'm waiting for? Haven't I told you already? It was the best coffee I've had." She looked serious. Jared frowned. "That's all. Last time, she would guess the type of coffee or the way the coffee was processed after she tasted the coffee. But now she did not even bother to elaborate her comment when it came to him. What else? She had an innocent look on her face. Jared was immediately at a loss for words. Okay, nice. He was completely defeated at that moment, so he just lowered his head and got ready to eat with her as he picked up his fork. However, Nicole suddenly furrowed her brows. What are you doing? Jared paused whatever he was doing. Eat. He thought, do I have to inform you about this too? Why are you eating with me? Nicole's brows knitted further. Jared and Nicole had only met a few times, so they were not close at all. She wondered why did he have to have meal with her. Jared was so exasperated that he almost burst out laughing when Nicole rejected him with her distant expression. Countless women in local and abroad were heartlessly rejected by him when they asked him out for dinner. But now that he took the initiative to dine in with Nicole, yet she gave her a disdainful look. "I was the one who ordered these for you, yet I couldn't eat them?" Jared fought back his anger to keep himself rational. But Nicole responded, "Though you're the one who ordered it, I'm the one who's going to pay, and I am not planning to treat anyone." She had never dined with a stranger before. Jared was completely baffled, and he could not help but clap his hands. "Okay. Very well, Miss Riddle. You are a very interesting person. I'll get the bill this time, all right?" But Nicole arched her brows. "It's okay. I don't want to be indebted to you, so let's have your own meals." She then looked down and started eating, not forgetting to pull her salad bowl closer to her. It was obvious that she wanted to draw a clear line between the both of them. It was the first time Jared was embarrassed like that, and some people were starting to look over at them. He had no choice but to say through gritted teeth, "Is this how you treat your fiancé?" "Tui." Nicole had almost spat out her coffee as she immediately took some tissue paper to wipe her mouth. She then shot him a glare. "Stop joking around, okay? We've already settled on breaking off the engagement." The moment when Jared saw her disdainful expression, he started to regret. "Do you want to break it off so badly?" He wondered, "Do you really not miss me, your charming fiancé, the heir to the Johnston Group, one bit?" "Yeah. Isn't it the same for you?" After all, he was the one who had personally visited her house for it. Her question immediately made Jared choke. Jared did not respond and called the server in angrily, "Get me a steak." "Sure." The server turned and left. Nicole stared at him as if she wanted to ask him what was wrong. Jared frowned. "I'll pay for it myself, okay?" Nicole finally gave in to eating with him at the same table, so she continued eating. Jared looked at her. It was his first time feeling defeated and resigned. This fiancée of his was so unique that she was driving him nuts. After Nicole bid Jared farewell, the sky was already dark when she left the cafe. Gloria gave Nicole a call to tell her that their driver was already at the school's entrance to pick her up. It turned out that everyone was going home this weekend as Mr. Riddle Sr. had arranged for a family dinner. Nicole was a little reluctant, but Mr. Riddle Sr. was rather nice to her. She had not seen her parents for a few days either, so she agreed to go home. When she walked out of school, the driver, who was sent by her family, was standing upright next to the car. When he saw Nicole walking out, he immediately opened the car door for her. "Miss Nicole, the misters have already gone home, and they ordered me to wait for you before they left." Nicole nodded as a response. She had seen the driver before, but he did not really talk much to her. However, he was really attentive towards Snow and Rain. After all, Dillian had a higher status in the Riddle Corporation. At that moment, Nicole could not help but look at him twice as he was suddenly behaving extra hospitable toward her. The driver flashed Nicole a toady smile when he saw her walking over. It seemed like he did not dare to snub her after seeing Mr. Riddle Sr. sending her to school personally. After 20 minutes, their car arrived back home. The driver hurried over to open Nicole's car door when she was getting down of the car. Nicole arched her brows when she saw him sweating profusely, but she remained silent. Nicole got down from the car and suddenly realized an extremely cool motorcycle parked right next to the entrance to their house. She loved these, so she could immediately tell that it was the latest model of Lightning. Be it the specs, the speed, the comfort or safety, this motorcycle was of top quality. Needless to say, it was extremely expensive. Nicole squinted to look at its specifications and noticed that everything was the highest spec. This motorcycle definitely cost at least $9 million. Nicole's eyes dwelled on the motorcycle as she wondered who was its owner. After a few minutes, Nicole opened the front door to her house and saw everyone sitting in the living hall as soon as she entered. Her second and third uncles were all here, and her second uncle even brought his children over. When she went in, everyone looked at her, and a hint of displeasure flashed in Karen's eyes. Daniel and his wife arrived rather early, so Nicole was the only one who was late. She was from the younger generation, yet she made her elderlies wait for her to begin their meal. "How unmannered," Karen said in sarcastic tone. "Nicole, Though it's normal for you to be unmannered since you are from the countryside, you already belong to the Riddle family in San Joto now. Don't you think you should learn some manners? How could you let all of us sit here and wait for you? Last time, Nicole's family was the ones who made them wait. Now, it was Nicole alone, and she made them wait for a very long time. The worst thing was Mr. Riddle Sr. insisted on waiting for Nicole before they started eating. Karen really did not know what was so special about Nicole. Gloria was embarrassed and was about to defend Nicole, but Daniel shook his head as he did not want her to go against Karen. As for Nora, she was gloating next to them. So what if Nicole got all the spotlight in school? She was nothing but a country bumpkin in her family's eyes. Every one of them looked down on her. They all thought Nicole would apologize to Karen, but Nicole did not respond and looked at her watch instead. It had just hit 6 p.m., and the Riddle family had always eaten their dinner around 6:15 p.m. She passed her bag to the servant and said flatly, "I didn't make you wait. The kitchen is the one that's making you wait." Indeed, the kitchen only started to serve their food now. The dishes weren't fully served yet, so how were they waiting for her? After Nicole said that, Karen could not find anything to refute. She got so angry she smacked the table and stood up as she pointed at Nicole. "Is this the way you talk to your elder?" Mr. Riddle Sr., who was sitting in the head seat, frowned when he saw Karen's behavior. He said coldly, "Karen, sit down." Dillian knew Mr. Riddle Sr. hated people arguing during mealtime the most, so he quickly pulled the unwilling Karen to sit down. Nicole sat down next to Nora, and both Samuel and Spencer looked past Nora to greet Nicole. When Nora saw her brothers being so affectionate to Nicole, she intentionally said in a low voice to Nicole, "Honestly, you are a little late. Didn't we finish class hours ago?" Though her voice was not loud, it was not soft either. So everyone at the table could hear her condemning Nicole. Nicole arched her eyebrows as she was already used to Nora setting her up. She then smiled menacingly. "I bumped into Jared after school, and he treated me to a meal." Though she had paid for her food, Jared did not accept a cent from her as if he was waiting for her to show a guilty depression. But she did not see anything wrong with how she had rejected eating with him, so she just accepted his treat and left. She thought back about Jared's expression and found him rather interesting. Nicole smiled playfully, unaware that everyone was already stunned after listening to what she had said. "What? Jared treated you to a meal?" Karen was extremely surprised. Though they were all aware that Mr. Riddle Sr. told Nicole about the engagement with Jared, they did not expect Jared to be interested in a country bumpkin like her. Snow, who was sitting across from her, said bitterly, "Nicole, no one is blaming you for being late. You don't have to say such a far-fetched excuse." Snow seemed soft and gentle, but she was actually insulting Nicole, saying that she was lying. Nicole smiled and took a sip of her juice. "You can ask Jared if you don't believe me." At that moment, everyone's face went pale. Where could they get the courage to ask Jared? It was said that Mr. Johnston Sr.'s dear grandson was making high demands as soon as he returned from overseas. Everyone in the Johnston group followed his orders, and his position in San Joto was untouchable. Although Mr. Johnston Sr. and Mr. Riddle Sr. were friends, the Riddle family was not close to Jared. How could they have the right to ask him about his personal matters? Mr. Riddle Sr. was ecstatic at that moment. He already knew that Nicole was a truthful person, so he smiled warmly at her. "It seems like Jared is really into you. You've got to get along well with him, okay?" Mr. Riddle Sr. still had no idea about Nicole wanting to break off the engagement, but Nicole did not want to mention it either. When Nicole saw the complicated expressions on their faces, as well as the proud expression on her parents' and her brother's faces, she smiled playfully and kept quiet. "All right, let's start eating. Though you've already eaten, Nicole, please stay back and eat some food with us." Mr. Riddle Sr. welcomed Nicole happily. "Sure." Nicole nodded. Nora's eyes were filled with loath when she saw that Nicole was getting the spotlight once again. She had gotten even more jealous when she thought of Jared treating Nicole to a meal. Ever since the day she knew that the cafe belonged to Jared, she had been an avid customer in hopes of bumping into Jared. However, she had not even seen him once. Today was the day Nora did not visit the shop, and Jared treated Nicole to a meal on this same day. Nora was heartbroken whenever she thought of the possible changes to the cancellation of their engagement. The engagement with Jared should have belonged to her. She would not let Nicole take it away from her. Everyone started to eat happily, and her third uncle and his wife were sitting across from Nicole. They would have small talk with Nicole from time to time, so Nicole had quite a good impression of them. When Karen saw them and Nicole's parents treating Nicole so well, she was filled with resentment. Back then, everyone would praise her son and daughters whenever the whole family gathered together. Now, everyone's attention was on Nicole. When they were almost done with their meal, Karen purposely turned to ask, "I heard Nicole went to stay on campus to pay attention to her studies. How is she performing in school?" When Nicole's academic performance was brought up, Mr. Riddle Sr. was slightly curious as well, so he did not interrupt her. Snow saw the chance and grabbed it as she smiled and glanced at Nicole. Nora is in Class B, junior year. She should know Nicole's performance better than anyone else. Nora was taken aback as she did not expect Snow to throw the question back to her. She could feel her parents and her brothers were all looking at her. Nora bit her lips as she knew she could not talk ill about Nicole in front of them, so she could only sneak a few glances at Rain. Then, she put up a wronged expression and said, "Nicole, I don't know what to say." Rain sneered when she looked at Nora, who did not dare to speak. "If you're afraid to say it, I'll say it." Nicole got famous as soon as she got into school and was always a hot topic on the school forum. They were saying that she was in a relationship with multiple guys and had even beaten a boy to the point where he got admitted into the hospital. Her voice was sonorous, as if she was desperate to expose Nicole in front of everybody. When Mr. Riddle Sr. heard her, his eyes immediately turned cold as he looked at Nicole. "Nicole, is Rain telling the truth?" But Nicole's face remained still as she fearlessly stared right back at him. "Grandpa, all of these came from nowhere. The people in school have nothing to do, so they'll just fabricate stories to spread rumors." Rain saw Nicole looking at herself, and Nicole's eyes showed that she had already seen through Rain. But how could Rain admit that Nicole had startled her with her eyes? She then yelled, "Are you still defending yourself? Everyone in the school forum is saying that you're bullying my sister after you're crowned the beauty queen. Not only this, you're even bullying people because you have Austin's help. Celia's boyfriend is in the hospital because he was beaten up by you. You even hit the seniors who were inspecting your dorm. Grandpa, Nicole's name is tarnished in school. She has completely humiliated the Riddle family." Rain was getting excited as she spoke, desperate to list out every bad thing that Nicole did. Nora was elated when she heard Rain shouting, "Who asked Nicole to be so cocky? Great, now every single thing she did was exposed. Let's see how Nicole could still stand in the Riddle family." Samuel could not take it anymore. "Rain, stop the nonsense. The small forum is full of gossip, and Spencer and I would never visit it. How can you believe in these things?" Rain sneered. "Just because you guys didn't visit that you didn't know. Your good sister thought so highly of herself and took part in the math Olympiad competition. She got a 0 score on the first test. 0. The entire family was stunned. Since the founding of the Royal Creek Institute, all its students were elites, and no one had ever scored 0. Was Nicole so dumb that she got a 0 score? Damien and his wife looked gravely at Nicole at the thought of her embarrassing the Riddle family. They then looked at Gloria and Daniel, feeling not too happy. They had long disagreed about sending Nicole to the Royal Creek Institute High School. It turned out that they were right. Nicole had not only made trouble but also scored 0 on tests. Rain was right about Nicole embarrassing the Riddle family. Dylan also looked at Nicole with disappointment. She was not only ill-mannered at home but also behaving terribly at school. She needed to be taught a lesson lest she would get from bad to worse next time. After a long silence, Damien said icily to Nicole, "I know Rain very well. She will never lie and slander others. Nicole, you, as part of the Riddle family, not taking care of your words and actions, have brought shame to the family. How can you be so willful?" Miley Rogers nodded in agreement as she sat by. Her daughter had already embarked on the road to stardom and could not afford to let news leak out that she had such a sister. "Exactly. Snow has always been gentle and easy to get along with. What was wrong with you? Why did you bully her?" Dylan said. "Actually, Nicole didn't bully me. It was I who had talked too much, but I was out of concern for her. She must have felt annoyed because of that, Snow said softly. The more Snow said, the angrier Dylan became. He glared at Nicole and said, "You must give us an explanation today." Seeing that her husband had spoken out, Karen immediately jumped onto the bandwagon. Exactly. How could Nicole bully Snow? Daniel, you must give us an explanation. Nicole looked at Snow with a smirk after hearing what Karen had said. Snow appeared to be wanting to stop Rain and her parents, but in reality, she was fanning the flames. Her family was up to no good. Samuel was desperate, but he could not talk back to the elders. But Nicole did not panic even the slightest when facing all of them. She just played with the quilt and chuckled. Did you just say I bullied Snow? Where is the evidence? Dylan quickly looked at Rain, who immediately showed him the photo on the forum. He looked furious and pointed at Nicole. Can you see what this is? How dare you deny you didn't bully Snow? So why did she cry? Nicole smirked. Ask her about it. But according to Rain, I have beaten Celia's boyfriend so severely that he is now lying in the hospital. So had I wanted to bully Snow, she would have had no chance to cry. Nicole's frosty eyes swept over Rain and Snow, sending a chill up their spines. Samuel snapped back and tried to defend Nicole. Absolutely. How can you prove Nicole has bullied Snow? Nicole is a national martial arts champion. If she wants to bully Snow, she can make Snow cry with just her fingers. Samuel. Seeing Samuel getting emotional, Spencer quickly stopped him. Their two elder brothers were not there. So even if they wanted to defend Nicole, their words carried little weight in front of the elders. Samuel got what Spencer meant and could only suppress his anger and sit down. But what Samuel said made Mr. Riddle Sr. think. After a moment, he asked, Nicole, you are a national martial arts champion? No wonder she beat all the boys and sent them lying in the hospital. There surely was more to this granddaughter of his than met the eye. Nicole did not intend to hide it either. She nodded and said, my grandma was afraid that I would be bullied when I was a child, so she sent me to learn some self-defense techniques. Mr. Riddle Sr.'s face turned solemn. He immediately turned to Snow. Tell me what the hell is going on. Snow was confused for a moment. But she quickly came out of it and responded. Grandpa, I never said that Nicole bullied me. Someone deliberately took this photo and uploaded it to the internet. I guess Rain must have seen this photo and thought that Nicole bullied me. With that, she pinched Rain hard under the table. Rain's heart skipped a beat, and she looked flabbergasted at Snow. It was Snow who uploaded the photo to the internet. Why did she deny it now? But when she noticed Mr. Riddle Sr.'s grave expression, her heart skipped a beat again. I don't know. That is what people say on the school forum. Just when Dylan wanted to say something, Karen quickly pinched him, stopping him from talking. She had now figured out what was going on when noticing her daughter's reaction. Snow was right beside you, yet you came back to complain about it before finding out what was actually going on. Mr. Riddle Sr. hissed. Rain bit her lip and quibbled. I might not have found out what was going on. But what about the other things? This was not the only wrong thing that Nicole had done. At this point, Spencer took out his phone, opened the post on the school forum, and showed it to Mr. Riddle Sr. Grandpa. The allegation that Nicole was dating two guys at the same time is also false. It was a picture taken when we took Nicole out to dinner. Just that Nicole is more low-key. She did not tell her relationship with us at school. After hearing this, Mr. Riddle Sr. no longer believed all other allegations. He looked frostily at Rain. It is all bullshit. How can you trust things on the internet? I can't believe that you took that as truth and used that to smear your cousin. Rain flinched when reprimanded. She never expected these two matters would take a sudden turnabout. Nora was upset and desperate because Rain and Snow could not even win the argument with Nicole. They were useless in her eyes. She gritted her teeth and said, absolutely. We shouldn't take things on the school forum too seriously. Other than Nicole's 0 scores on the math Olympiad test, the other things are simply hearsay. Nora's words might have overturned everything else, but it reminded Rain. Absolutely. Everything else can be fake, but the results can't be fake. She really scored 0. The post is at the top of the school forum. Mr. Riddle Sr. became serious when he looked at Nicole. Is this true? The atmosphere tensed up this time. Daniel and Gloria looked at their daughter, hoping Nicole would explain that it was fake, as she had just done. Samuel and Spencer were so busy in the school societies every day and were unaware of it. So they did not know how to defend her. It did not matter though, because Nicole had admitted it. Yes, I scored 0. Rain could not help but laugh upon hearing this. She could not believe that Nicole was bold enough to admit it in this situation. You finally admit it. She smiled triumphantly, waiting to see how things would end. But Nicole gave no further explanation. Damien was upset. He looked at Nicole with his brows knitted together. Aren't you going to explain what is going on? Nora could not describe how elated she was when Nicole was finally being put on the spot. But she still pretended to comfort her. We all know that the Math Olympiad competition is tough. Even Rain has only scored 91 marks. If you can't keep up, tell the teacher that you will withdraw from the competition. Don't be so thick-skinned to stay on only to embarrass the Riddle family. Rain also added fuel to the fire. Yeah, Nicole, withdrawal is a better option when you are not up to par. Don't embarrass yourself. Mr. Riddle Sr.'s face was grave as he saw Nicole appear to be nonchalant. Nicole, since you can't keep up, tell your teacher that you will withdraw from the competition and concentrate on preparing for the monthly exam. I am not going to quit. Nicole looked at Mr. Riddle Sr. with a determined look on her face. Mr. Riddle Sr. looked at her and felt a strange pressure from her gaze. But she was only a teenager. Ignoring her gaze, he said with irritation, I will talk to your teacher. You just concentrate on preparing for the exam and forget about the Math Olympiad competition. Don't forget that you have scored 0. Damien and Dylan also nodded. They did not want Nicole to continue embarrassing them. Nicole looked at them, who were all using the Riddle family as an excuse. She smiled meaningfully at each of them, her expression gradually turning cold. She then said faintly, Don't worry, uncles. No one knows about my relationship with the Riddle family. You all don't have to worry about me embarrassing you all. Everyone was stunned when they heard what she said. They then realized that Nicole had never announced at school that she was from the Riddle family. Since that was the case, the saying that Nicole was embarrassing them at the school did not hold anymore, and that also made them look cowardly. Both Damien and Dylan quickly shut their mouth in embarrassment. Nicole then turned to Mr. Riddle Sr. with a determined look. Grandpa, I promised my class teacher that I would take part in this competition and that I would win the top spot. I always make sure I will achieve what I have promised. Her eyes looked resolute. Her voice was sonorous and powerful, making Mr. Riddle Sr. feel her resolve. From 0 to hero. Do you think you can do it? This was a tough thing for ordinary people, not to mention a person like her who had no foundation. Nicole smiled. Grandpa, even ordinary people could strike a few correct answers when being blindfolded. Do you really think I have really scored 0? This suddenly reminded and stunned Mr. Riddle Sr. She was right. There were a few multiple-choice questions in the Math Olympiad competition. No way one would score 0. It immediately aroused the curiosity of the entire family, including Samuel and Spencer. Only then did Nicole take out her answer sheet from her pocket and hand it to the family butler, who then passed it to Mr. Riddle Sr. Mr. Riddle Sr. looked at the neat answer sheet, startled. There were many questions that he did not know the answer to, but there were a few questions that were obviously answered correctly. The only unusual thing was that there were no calculation steps provided but only answers. After taking a glance, Mr. Riddle Sr. handed the paper to Damien. You should be able to understand these answers. Damien frowned, not knowing what Mr. Riddle Sr. meant. He took the exam paper and was surprised. His wife also came closer to take a look at the answers, and they both looked at each other, their gazes deepening. What is wrong? Why do the expressions of you two look so strange? Karen sensed something was not quite right and asked curiously. Everyone looked over at them expectantly. Damien came out of his shock at last. The answers on the test paper are all correct. What? Everyone in the house was stunned. Nora and Rain were even more stunned. All they knew was that Nicole had scored 0, and they had no idea what was going on with her test paper. At this time, Daniel could no longer sit still. "Nicole, what the hell is going on? Your Uncle Damien said that you have answered all questions correctly. So why did you still get 0? Nicole smirked with a teasing look in her eyes. "I talked to Mr. Lewis today, and he said that although my answers were all correct, he could not give me a single mark because I was too lazy to write the calculation steps." "What does that mean?" Snow was startled for a while before she got what Nicole meant. "You are saying that you didn't need to go through the calculation steps to figure out the answers?" Rain stood up with indignation. "You must have copied someone else's answers. Otherwise, how could you not provide the calculation steps?" Nicole could not help but laugh at Rain, who desperately tried to accuse her of wrongdoing. "In the entire Math Olympiad class, only Gary and you scored the highest. But did you two get full scores?" "My answers are all correct though." Rain's face turned pale, although she still thought Nicole had copied someone else's answers. The pertinent question was, would someone who scores 100 marks copy the answers from someone who has only scored 90 marks? At this point, Rain was completely stupefied, sitting in a chair like a defeated rooster. Everyone was as quiet as a church mouse. No one dared to accuse Nicole or question her ability again. Even Mr. Riddle Sr. was struck dumb by Nicole's prowess. He always thought that Nicole had a poor academic performance, not expecting that she could achieve a perfect score on the Math Olympiad. This granddaughter of his had surprised him repeatedly, which he was thrilled about. "Ha ha ha. I didn't expect that we, the Riddle family, would have a Math Olympiad genius. Is there still anyone opposing her participation in the Math Olympiad competition?" Mr. Riddle Sr.'s eyes swept over everyone. Neither Damien nor Dylan dared to say anything. Even Rain and Nora were completely silenced. Nora clenched her hand, not expecting that Nicole's 0 scores were just the result of the lack of calculation steps. This had instead made Rain and her look like fools. Since everyone was silent, Mr. Riddle Sr. waved his hand. "Then do as Nicole said. Whoever dares to talk nonsense will not have to come to my house again." There was always a noisy disagreement at the dining table. He was really tired of it. Seeing that no one dared to say anything anymore, Daniel and Gloria looked at their daughter with relief. They really did not expect that their daughter could have such an impressive achievement and make them proud in front of their families. No one would probably dare to look down on them anymore. After dinner, Mr. Riddle Sr. felt tired. He got up and went upstairs with the help of a servant. The first and third uncles secretly looked at each other, and then they left with their wives. There were only Dylan and Karen at the dining table now. They could not care that Daniel had not left and started picking on Rain. "Why did you say something like that before figuring out the ins and outs of the matter? You have pissed off your grandpa now, and we all are now implicated." Getting picked on, Rain glared at Nicole in chagrin. It was all because of Nicole that she was now getting berated by her parents. She felt so indignant not only because Nicole was not kicked out of the Math Olympiad class but also because she was getting an earful. Daniel and Gloria were not interested in listening to Dylan and Karen scolding their daughter. They took their daughter and sons out of the house. Nicole and Gloria walked side by side in front, followed by their 2 sons and 2 daughters. While leaving, Gloria had been keeping her head low and saying not a word. Nicole frowned. She looked at Gloria, and sure enough, her eyes had welled up. She quickly asked worriedly, "Mom, why are you crying?" Gloria was sad. At first, she thought she finally had her daughter back, and Nicole could finally live a happy life. But it seemed that all she brought to her daughter was misery. Every time she came home, her daughter would be targeted along with them. Thinking that when Karen and Rain said nasty things about Nicole while she could not protect her, Gloria could not help but hug her. "I am sorry for bringing you all this, Nicole." Daniel, following behind, heard what Gloria said and sighed. "Nicole, it was all because of me you are being slandered. I am a useless father." He and Gloria could do nothing to counter the disparagement in front of their elder brothers and their wives. It was Nicole who rebutted the criticism and made them proud. "It is all right. It is over. Isn't it good?" Nicole smiled. She was strong enough and not afraid of criticism. Instead, she felt happy that she could protect her parents. Samuel also stepped up to comfort his parents. Absolutely. Whatever happened today, Nicole has got it all handled. Not only that, she has even given Rain and second aunt a slap in the face. The thought of the contorted faces of his uncles and aunts made Samuel proud. They could not help but laugh upon hearing what Samuel said. Meanwhile, Nora was staring at Nicole from behind. Just before dinner, she had received the news that Celia had failed her mission. Nora did not expect Nicole to be so lucky. She had made her move on Nicole twice today, yet Nicole had escaped. If she wanted to bring Nicole down, she would have to use some more ruthless tricks. It was the weekend, the next day. Nicole got up early for a morning run, only to see Samuel and Spencer waiting for him. Seeing her coming, both of them simpered. Samuel said, "Spencer quipped last time that I could not outrun you. So I will prove him wrong today." "Okay." Nicole smiled. "Then you two had better keep up." "Don't worry. I will." Spencer smiled triumphantly. He might not be a sports student, but he had been working out several times a week. His physical strength could still keep up. But Spencer's self-confidence was defeated by Nicole within minutes. As Nicole ran ahead into the distance, Spencer looked at Samuel in surprise. "Oh my God! How did Nicole run so fast? Is she sure this is just a morning workout? It looks more like a race." "You now know I was not lying. It is Nicole who is too badass," Samuel said, with a trace of admiration in his eyes. Spencer looked ahead in amazement. Gritting his teeth, he tried to keep up again. By the time the three of them had finished running and returned home, it was half an hour later. Spencer and Samuel were dog-tired, but Nicole was not breaking a sweat. They both felt that she was too terrific. After stretching in the courtyard for a while, the three entered the living hall. Nora was coming downstairs, ready to go out, when she saw Nicole had brought her brothers for a run. A look of mockery flashed in her eyes, but a gentle smile quickly returned to her face. "Nicole, you, Samuel and Spencer were going to morning exercise again? Can you even keep up?" Spencer and Samuel were physically fit. She used to try going for a run with them in the morning, but she had to give up because she could not keep up. "Ask them." Nicole rolled her eyes at her and walked past her. Usually, Spencer was friendly toward Nora. But when thinking about yesterday, when Nora defended Rain at his grandfather's house, he felt upset and ignored her, walking past with a sour face and his head held high. Even Samuel, who had always been affable toward her, only replied faintly, "We couldn't keep up with Nicole." "How is that possible? Aren't you a basketball player, Samuel?" Nora could not help but be surprised that a hillbilly could outpace her brothers. "We can't help it. Nicole is simply too OP, not only in the math Olympiad but also in sports." Samuel pretended to be proud. He then went to the refrigerator to get a bottle of mineral water. His look was telling Nora that he did not want to talk to her, and he was impressed by Nicole. No one had ever given Nora the cold shoulder like this before. She was so angry that she wanted to throw her handbag in her hand, but then when she saw the maids were looking at her, she quickly put on a gentle and magnanimous look, smiling at the three of them as if she did not mind at all. Yeah, Nicole is indeed very badass. She still could not believe that Nicole could turn the situation of her 0 scores around last night. The more Nora thought about it, the angrier she became. Having nowhere to express her indignation and losing the mood to go out, she turned back to her room. Why was everyone paying attention to Nicole when she was just a hillbilly? Now even Samuel and Spencer were ignoring her. They became like two attendants, following Nicole wherever she went. What a fool they were. She had tried many times to sabotage Nicole, but she always escaped and stole the limelight. Nora was getting angrier. She lost control of her temper and started to smash things up in the room angrily. Fortunately, her room was covered with a thick carpet, and there was not much noise heard from the outside. Otherwise, someone would have come in to see what was going on. Nora collapsed on the bed, feeling resentful and indignant. Rain is too stupid. I should start with Snow. At least Snow had a brain and would not implicate her. She took out her phone and sent a text message to Snow with a sneer. Meanwhile, in the Riddle mansion, Snow got a notification ding on her phone. She opened the message that contained only a few words, yet it made her ecstatic. Harvey will arrive in San Joto tomorrow. Snow replied to the message from Nora with a thank you and lay back on the bed happily. Thinking that Harvey Ellison would be back tomorrow, Snow could no longer sleep. She hurriedly took out her outfits from the closet to see in which she looked the best. Karen was walking by and overheard a noise inside. Wearing a silk nightie, she poked her head through the gap in the door and said in a not-too-happy voice, "What makes you so restless on the weekend night? Where are you going by dressing up like that?" Snow paused and turned her head to look at her mother with a smile. "Mom, Harvey will be back in San Joto tomorrow." She bowed her head shyly. She knew Karen liked to hear the news of her and Harvey getting closer. Her mother would be thrilled. Sure enough, when Karen heard Harvey's name, she looked delighted. "Harvey is coming back. Then you should dress up. Tell me what you lack, okay? You are my most outstanding daughter. Remember, make sure you find a way to make Harvey your man." After saying that, Karen hurried back to her room. When she came back out, there was a beautiful diamond necklace in her hand. "Take this. Wear this one when you see Harvey. It is worth $20 million. Don't lose it." Snow took the necklace in her hand with a dim light flashing in her eyes. "Don't worry, Mom. I am going to wear it and will not lose it," she whispered. Karen happily nodded. Snow was the child she worried about the least since Snow was small. Snow was trained to be an aristocrat in her behavior and appearance and proficient in arts. Even so, when Snow told her that Harvey was interested in her, she could still not believe it. The Ellison family was an influential force in San Joto, not someone the Riddle family could be comparable with. If Harvey was into Snow, then Dylan would benefit from it as his status in Riddle Corporation would be elevated. As time passed, Karen started to believe that Harvey had feelings for her daughter. After confirming this, she was ecstatic, asking Snow not to let go. She even gave Snow her most precious jewelry. The diamond necklace worth $20 million was a case in point. It was the dowry from her maiden family, the most expensive of all her jewelry, the one and only piece. She looked at Snow and said dotingly, "Take care of your image in school. Make sure you have a firm grasp on Harvey." "Okay." Snow agreed and continued to try on clothes. Karen joined in, helping Snow match her clothes and handbags. Nicole could no longer stand it after just staying at home for a Saturday. Because of the many servants in the house, it was noisy and affected the speed and quality of her study. Because of this, Nicole told Gloria and Daniel that she would go back to the campus. The two felt sad to see Nicole leave, but they had to agree for the sake of Nicole's study. She was finally back at school. Many students were staying on the campus of the Royal Creek Institute, so it was crowded. Just then, at the entrance of the school, a bright blue motorcycle was parked up on the side of the road, looking flashy and cool. Not far away, there were groups of girls looking at the car with envy and mumbling from time to time, "What luck are we having now? Harvey will come back soon. Even Preston Riddle has come to the school. It is so merry." Preston Riddle? The name sounds familiar.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.